Hi, guys. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
This is a real privilege to chat with both of you. Honestly, I love both your work. Stephen, you've made some great films, and Eric, of course, between Street Legal and Corner Gas, this is an honor. So,
oh man, I'm surprised you've heard of them all. You're too young. Street Legal, you must have watched it in the womb.
I'm not that young. I'm not that young, but would watch it with my parents. I will say that.
Of course. Are they lawyers?
Yeah, that's right. Well, nothing keeps the watchful eyes of young people on their own than lawyer shows when they're under the age of 10. But no,
well, it's good. It's good to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great genre. The individual encounters society. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't learn those lessons too soon.
It's true. It's true. Honestly, the film is such a joy, and it's such a wonderful piece. A lot of fun. Stephen, to start with you, I was wondering, where did you get the idea for the film?
It actually came from something my mother said. My mother had cancer for a long time, and there was and she said to me, she said, I had 9 months to be born. I'm going to take 9 months to die. And true story, she actually died nine months and 1 day after saying it.
Wow.
And it was such an interesting thing because she literally started doing all these things that she had not done in a long time. She has like 8 brothers and sisters. So she spent like a week with each of them and spent time with her grandkids and spent time with me on it. But what I watched was this kind of trying to reconnect with everybody before she goes. And so it kind of was profoundly affecting to me, obviously being my mother. And so I just thought it was such an interesting way of looking at it. And wouldn't it be nice if we had those 9 months, if we knew that we had 9 months to go, what would we do, And so it started off with that. And then I started realizing that, we have all these moments in our lives that, tend to take place over short periods of time. And so I just kind of followed with that.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing about this film to me too, is this idea, the emphasis of moments, just not even in the story, but the way you structured the film. I was wondering what it is about the moment that intrigued you, and why did you choose to break it down into segments like that?
Well, I think part of it is that I realized that we all have that defining moment. Like, if we all sat and chat, we all can think of that one moment sometimes that changed us, as I used to always say, changed us from who we were to who we'll be. And, and I think too, that once I realized that we all have them, I realized everybody has different ones. Some of them are actually quite happy, and some of them, are quite devastating. And it was fascinating to me was the fact that we don't actually get to choose it. Most of the time it comes to us. And I think that that's why we wanted to try to segment it a little bit in the film, just to be able to show people that, you're going to have one of these, and they can be good ones and they can be sad ones, but you're going to have them. And, I think the only thing scary is that you don't recognize it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We never see it at the time for what it is, like we notice like 20 years later, we go, oh, geez, that changed me. But you don't know it at the time. It'd be nice if you did.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's the poignancy of the moment is often read in the rear view, in so many ways. Eric, I was wondering what it is about this film that attracted you to the project, to Edward, to working with Stephen.
Well, I loved the script when I read it. And it's a great part for an old fellow to practice being dementia, to practice my dementia, which I believe is going to come into full force as you hear me talk further. I'm very good at it now. I'm very good at handling my dementia, and thanks to the warm up with this film. And again, it's interesting to think of moments like the moments that Edward has are quite strange, of course, as he sees things that nobody else is seeing in the world. But I was very attracted to the script, and I'd never worked with Stephen before, so this was going to be fun. And of course, having Burt Reynolds be part of it, you go, oh, I can't believe this is going to happen, that I'm actually going to be in a movie with Burt Reynolds. So I think those were the 3 pretty strong arguments. And of course, one never turns down work.
It's fair. Um, you brought up Burt, and of course, this being his final film. I mean, I don't know if he recognized that or if that was intentional, but this is a poignant farewell for Burt's final work. I was wondering to you both what it was like working with him on the set and how he got involved.
You want to go first, Eric?
It was everything that I expected it would be. I mean, and more, because of course, I didn't know Burt Reynolds at all, but I'd certainly seen all his movies, and he was certainly in my mind, a great big movie star. I mean, not only in my mind, in the culture itself. This was a man that had contributed significantly, and so to meet him, and to see, he was frail and needed assistance. I mean, his age, the years had caught up to him to a certain extent, but he was still incredibly, there, and still in his mind. He was still, even though he was a little slower and wasn't, we weren't throwing a football around between takes or anything like that. He was still, and the other thing is, when you meet, with Burt, I haven't met a lot of movie stars, but, great big movie stars like that. But me, to work with him, the fame, the stardom disappears. And you're just working with another actor, a very conscientious actor, a guy that wasn't phoning it in at all. He had analyzed the script. He was an artist that knew how to approach and work on the material. And he was, 100% there. It was, and it was nice to have the two of, we'd do a take and the two of us could go over it, kind of go, oh my God, I'm too old for all this, I think, maybe, I don't know. So it was interesting. I mean, he's a great raconteur too, and he's had a very interesting life. So it was great fun. And of course, we don't ever know what's going to be our last movie, or, I think after a certain age as an actor, you're going, it comes up in a lot of projects after you're, sort of after a certain age, you're going, I wonder if this is going to be the last one. I better enjoy it, or whatever. So, I was very saddened at his passing, but also very grateful to have had the opportunity to work with him. It was really fun, and I brag about it all the time.
Yeah, he really was a much friendlier guy than you might have, thought going in, and he was one of my favorites. Like, I grew up in that, the late 70s, early 80s, kind of right in his wheelhouse. And so it was his movies that I was always going to. So for me, it was a real special thing to be able to work with him. But he, every day he'd come give me a hug, which was not easy for him to do because, he had a little bit of issues walking, but he'd give me a big hug and a kiss on the cheek and say, what are we doing today, Chief? And like literally every day. And, and he did this really cool thing with the crew. He would go and take pictures, like his assistant would take pictures when Burt was working with, sometimes it might be with the DP or, or the makeup girl or something. And then he would have them printed off at night, and he would sign them and have them ready for them in the morning for the people. So, by the end of his time with us, he had gotten pretty much everybody at some point on the crew, which was such a sweet thing to do. And I think too, is that I think it was a good movie for him, because I think that I think he's a guy who didn't necessarily know when he had his defining moment. Mm-hmm. I think he was very reflective when he was in our film, about his life and about the people in his life and some of the mistakes he made. He used to always say he used to pick films based on how much fun he was going to have, not on whether it was a good script. And I think as he got older, he started realizing how much more important it was for him to do the films that he wanted to do rather than the ones, that were just purely for, just the big studio things. I think he was really enjoying working in the independent world at the end.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess it's interesting you say that, because to hear how he would have shifted over time, as well as we all do, of course. Having said that, to you both as well. I was wondering if there were any defining moments for you that you could share, because it's so central to the film itself.
Well, for me, it really was like this film was, I wrote it a long time ago, and so to me, like literally, I think me being kind of awake enough at the time, I think, to understand that my mom said something profound. And, and this film's had, we've had some people attached over the years, like Peter O'Toole and Jerry Lewis, who had passed away. And, and it was one of those films that just always seemed to taught me everything that I needed to know in the film business, both on the good and the bad and all those things, but also to keep driven to finish the job. And because like, even if you have a nice script and even if everybody likes it, I wrote this in 2004. It came out 17 years later, and I think that to me was a great lesson about how the business works and how life works, that you got to keep your feet moving, as we say in hockey. That's the only way to get things done.
For sure, for sure. Eric, do you have any defining moments you can share?
I've never had a defining moment in my life.
Not one.
Not one. I'm still waiting for it. I think you have to be more of a writer to be conscious of defining moments. I keep going, I hope that wasn't a defining moment. You go, oh my God, if that is my defining moment, I'm sunk. I'm sorry not to be more serious. But again, defining life is a strange business, basically. And writing is a way we try to lasso life, it seems to me. And that's why I love writers. And Stephen's writing is no different. It's great writing. And he tries to capture so that we can examine this kind of endless ongoing stream of changing moments that we call living. And we can go, oh, okay, that's the defining moment. Well, it's the defining moment in the script. But as to my defining moments, and that's a great story that Stephen tells about his mother. That is indeed, that's a great gift that she had, and he did a wonderful thing with that gift too. So you were a good son, Stephen, I have to say.
Thanks. But she's on the story by credit on the film.
Is she? Yeah,
is. I put her up there because it was because if she doesn't open her mouth that day, then it doesn't come. Yeah. And so I always thank her for it. She always was a big fan of me, because I got into film very late in life. I didn't direct my first film until I was 37 or 38. And so, I think it was I think she was very happy that I was pursuing it and putting the effort into it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. One of the things I loved about this film as well is that, you've got some incredible veteran actors, other than Eric and Burt, you've also got Greene in there as well. And a young cast. I was wondering, Eric, if there's anything particular that you wanted to share with the younger cast, or anything that you learned from them.
It's one of no, you're going to get me started on. I'm going to sound like such an old fart now, because all those young people are just on their cell phones between takes. I was used to us old guys sitting around, shooting the shit about things, but these guys are all just on their phone. I had to admire. I admired their. I mean, I keep saying as an old actor now, not as an emerging artist, but as I like to know, as a submerging artist. I'm so in admiration of the skill of younger actors and the talent of them. And this particular picture is a very fine example of that. I was also, and having said that, so I'm going, thank God I started when I did, because if I had to start out in competition with these guys now, I'd never work. So at least I had my old weathered face and my old, just so close to dementia. In reality, it was typecasting that I could call for this part. But the other thing is, my God, and Burt and I often lamented this. Shooting a film is like it's hard work with very long hours, and we had some all-nighters. And my God, that is for an old fella. Oh, I was into kind of, you're almost delirious by the time they take you home, in the ambulance, as it were. So, yeah. So I, as an older actor, I go, my God, it's a young person's game, even shooting. And so even more kudos to Burt, who was,
absolutely.
real pro.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I know we're running shorter on time, so I just wanted to ask from both of your perspectives, what is it that you hope audiences take away from defining moments?
For me, I genuinely hope that that people take a kind of a look at their life and realize that there's moments in time that we can sometimes, we might be able to get a glimpse at if we're paying attention, and I think that because those things happen, and I think sometimes we don't, even if they're sad ones, sometimes we don't always understand that they're coming, but I think if you are paying attention, I think you might be able to see it and understand that this is a moment that I should, pay attention to and absorb and, maybe, reflect on. It's, I think sometimes the moments pass by and then, like I said, we catch up with them later on, but I'm hoping that people can maybe see them coming a little bit.
Well, I think this is a film that, it falls into what I am, a great generality, what I hope that the, performance art does for people, that people see people imagining, pretending very seriously. And that work of imagination that's a film or a play encourages them to unleash their own imagination. And then with imagination, I mean, our imagination is what joins us to everybody else and to the world around us. And that's, I think, one of the chief pleasures of art, period, is this kind of imaginative exercise that allows us briefly to cogitate, contemplate, observe not only life around us and increase the definition of that and see experiences that our people having, but also connected to our own lives and go, I am also alive in this planet like these characters in this play, and I see what they're going through, and it reminds me of things I'm going through, and hopefully it gives a kind of richness to your own life. And I think this film has a great possibility of doing that if people, if people are sit down and watch it.
Yeah, I think so too. And honestly, to you both, thank you so much for the time to chat with you. I really appreciate it. It's
been great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I wish you the best. Thank you so much.
Oh,